All right. There we go. There he is, ready to go. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm doing well. Just struck with a lot of FOMO this week, fear of missing out, because I was really hoping the Dolphins would get me to Vegas for a free trip over there this weekend. But that became more and more clear the later we got into the season that wasn't going to happen.
It was going to be free for you. I was going to pay for mine and Sean's, but I was hoping to pay for a Vegas trip myself too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It hurt when I had to ask for my refund for my Airbnb 2 years in a row, by the way, because I did ask for my refund in Arizona last year, and now this year here in Vegas, I had to get my refund too, man, which absolutely sucks that I had to get refunded there. But hey, it is what it is. Now they got to build it back up again, and that'll be the challenge, and we'll find out, who's available in free agency and who is not. And I think one guy I'm convinced, and I've been saying it for a couple months, they'll be replacing is Christian Wilkins. And that will be a nice challenge for them to either replace him in the first or second round or replace him somewhere in free agency because they will have to get somebody to put next to Mr. Sealer.
Yeah, and if I would lean more toward the draft. I would think the Dolphins with assistant D line coach Kenny Baker. He was coaching D lineman at the Senior Bowl. Austin Clark was around there to get a good look at them. Anthony Weaver has that track record. He's a D-line coach coming over from just holding that position with the Ravens and other positions he's held before. He's coached D-lineman, was a D-lineman himself in the NFL. And player development, so important to him, as Mike McDaniel noted in that statement he released. So I could see a draft pick going that way if indeed, as we've mentioned, as you are very much of the belief that Christian Wilkins will be gone, then I could see
for months, man. He's gone.
Yeah. And then free agency, I wouldn't see a big time free agent coming because the whole reason you're letting Christian Wilkins go in that scenario is that you're not spending the big money to bring him back. So then, especially if you're not bringing back Raekwon Davis, then you're also going to need a nose tackle to play those rundowns, about 50% of snaps, let's say. And then maybe they go for a veteran there. I haven't looked at the nose tackles that are free agents, but maybe you go for a cheaper free agent to fill in that role as well. But I could see them getting a young D lineman in one of the first couple of rounds, developing him and having him be that guy where you pay him a little bit less on a rookie contract and have him be that guy next to Zach Sealer.
Yeah, that's why I think Wilkins is gone. And I'll tell you, because some fans will tell you about Chris Jones because he'll be a free agent. I would be terrified to sign Chris Jones because there's a good chance on Sunday he wins his third Super Bowl. There's also a very good chance this is his final big contract. I kind of feel that if the Chiefs don't sign him, which I don't think they will re-sign him because they've got other things to do, but something tells me that whoever gets him is going to get like the guy that is kind of finishing off his career, and he's not going to be really as hungry as he's been in the past. He's got his money, he's got his championships. I would be terrified of signing Chris Jones if I'm the next team in line. I don't know about you. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, and Chris Jones, he would be going into his age 30 season, so he would turn 30 before next season. So you take that into consideration as well, all the factors you mentioned. Would the hunger factor still be there if he gets paid? Kansas City Chiefs now they've made 2 Super Bowls since letting Tyreek Hill go. So, credit to them that even with all their wide receiver issues, all the drops, all the miscommunications on that front, that, hey, when you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Andy Reid, you got Travis Kelce, Chris Jones has still been there, and that defense has taken another step under Steve Spagnuolo, then, they can still play at that level even as they have to replace former players. I remember the Patriots doing that a lot, going back to when really the start of that dynasty, thinking of like early 2000s when every year it seemed like they would lose a key player off the defense from the previous year. And then even through that later run with Brady and Gronk and Edelman and all those guys, it seemed like they always just had another guy that they would just bring up, whether it's through the draft, whether it's a cheaper free agent, and then just fitting that system, he would work well for them. So then Chris Jones, if he moves, is in another system, he's getting paid big money. would the motivation still be there? Hunger to win, all those factors. Would worry whoever's going to pay huge dollars to bring him in, which is what it's going to take.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's why, to me, that's not the move that they're going to end up making. I think it'll be, in the draft when it's all said and done. And then maybe in free agency, you can get like a veteran that can kind of fill in, teach the kid, guide the kid, somebody that maybe Weaver already knows or something like that. I could see something like that, but I'm with you. I think it could be in that first or second round where you're trying to fill that defensive tackle need. You look at some of the other stuff going on. What are you hearing about Teron Armstead? I know I'm kind of putting you in an impossible position. I don't think there's any retirement when it's all said and done. There's too much money on the table. Plus, I think the Dolphins really don't want him to retire because that would really create a salary issue.
Right. So, from Teron Armstead's front, he still hasn't made a decision. He's still mulling things over. Last we heard from him at the Pro Bowl, but and not based on any insider information, but I would just lean toward assuming that he would want to come back and play once some more weeks and months go by in the offseason and you start getting that itch again, you start missing what you were just doing competing. And I think from the Dolphins front, of course, you don't want him to retire because of the salary cap implications. It would be a negative for them. And then you take whatever you can get out of him. If it's 10 games that he plays and he's on the injury report every week, you take that. And then maybe he's still a Pro Bowler like he was from off of those 10, 11 games like he was this season. So you take it. And then if it's Kendall Lamb coming back and then he fills in those other 6, 7 games, then, that's something you can work with at least. So, I think the Dolphins definitely hope that he's back, and you don't want so much turnover on the offensive line because you're also looking at the interior of the line where Connor Williams is a free agent and coming off the knee injury. Robert Hunt is a free agent, and that'll be a priority, especially if you're not bringing back Christian Wilkins. Then, could you go ahead and send some of that money to Robert Hunt?
He's coming back, bro. Rob Hunt is not going anywhere, bro. He'll be right here.
So the less turnover after you just had a good year as far as developing the O-line together. Butch Berry coming back for a second season. First time in a long time that the Dolphins have an O-line coach coming back for a second consecutive year. Then those will all be positives that I think the Dolphins would want to take. And then part of that would be having Teron Armstead in the fold as well at left tackle.
Yeah. And it's amazing, David, when you think about it, how important Liam Eichenberg, Kendall Lamb, and Andrew Van Ginkel are to this team because of the Connor injury and the insurance policy that Liam Eichenberg has become for him. Kendall Lamb, the insurance policy he's become to Teron Armstead, a guy that can legitimately even start at that position for you and certainly fill in. And then you talk about Andrew Van Ginkel with your 2 injuries to Chubb and Phillips. My Lord, you got to bring him back in a big time way because you've got to find another pass rusher opposite of him to kind of at least fill in until you start getting those guys back and get them into a groove. But you think about those 3 guys, the importance that they bring to the table because of the issues you have with other players at the same position. It's crazy how if you're in the Dolphins front office, those 3 guys have to be like a priority for you.
Oh, yeah. Top of the list, Andrew Van Ginkel, because you don't know how Jim Phillips, Bradley Chubb are going to come back. So then suddenly if those 2 guys start on PUP next year, and that's a lot of months in advance, we don't know how far they'll progress. But, I mean, those are serious injuries that they're coming back from, an ACL for Chubb, the Achilles for Phillips, who, by the way, he posted his first steps a little bit on the crutches on his Instagram story and then on some machine there. So, good to see that from him now, 2.5 months since the injury and the surgery. It was late November. So I think that, that's the timeline on that. So good to see that. But Andrew Van Ginkel, he's at the forefront now just because you don't know if you're going to have those 2 guys to start next season. So then he immediately becomes a starter in that case. And then even if you do have them, it's just the rotational guy aspect of it, where maybe starting off, you don't want to give Chubb and Phillips so many snaps like they were seeing before. So you don't want them playing the 90+% of defensive snaps. So Andrew Van Ginkel, huge on that front, and I think he would like to stay in Miami, just based on, I mean, you get glimpses of him with his wife, his family. They're down here, and on Hard Knocks and all that. So I think that would be great for both sides if they're able to reach that conclusion. Then you mentioned Kendall Lamb. You're speaking on my colleague Perk's language there, because I remember last season on our program with the Sun Sentinel, he was talking all this. He was always speaking of Kendall Lamb, or just the backup left tackle, was such a priority in free agency last year. And they're kind of brushing it off like, all right, yeah, I get it. Teron Armstead's always hurt, but there's starters that you need to get too. But then it's true. You really do have to look at that position, because you bank on that Armstead is not going to have a full season, and he's going to be on the injury report throughout the year, whether he is playing or not. So you always need that guy to have as backup, and Liam Eichenberg as well. Just whether you need him at center to start because Connor Williams won't be available, or if he's going to be in that left guard competition next year, then that would be something for him as you've seen him develop now, or if he's just the backup center again, with Williams now having an injury that he's coming back from. Those would all be key players next year for sure.
I agree, my brother. And that's why it's going to be kind of interesting to see the developments in the offseason, because some of the players that are signed first may not be the biggest names. It might be some of these key guys that are part of, making sure that bridge to Phillips and Chubb is there with Andrew Van Ginkel, all those kind of things. Obviously, I'm sure Weaver's already going through the tape and trying to figure out how, because he's probably going to play. His system's going to be probably a little different too. He's probably going to tweak and do things his way. So different players, he may require a couple different players in that system that he may not have at this point in time. Or there might be some players, like let's say a Cam Smith, might be able to excel more with him than with Vic. I don't know. The interesting part that we don't know about Weaver is, like, we just went through a guy that plays a ton of zone all the time, very little man-to-man. That's the part I'm not going to know about Weaver. How much man is he going to play? How much zone is he going to play now that it's his show?
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to hear from him whenever we do hear from him first in his introductory press conference, which I believe will be next week at some point after the Super Bowl, things sort of settling down. So his one stint as defensive coordinator, he was a little bit more of the aggressive type. But in 2020 with the Texans, a lot of single high safety looks, maybe some cover zero, and it almost looked closer to the Flores Boyer type of thing. But then now he's been under a Baltimore system of Mike McDonald there, where there was less of the blitzing and more of the zone coverages, too high looks, safeties. That was a predominant coverage there. So then sort of where will he fall now as far as what his previous ideas were, and then has he sort of evolved it into more of what he learned under McDonald? How close on that spectrum would he be? Would he be sort of somewhere in between? So I really want to get that answer out of him, and then we'll really know sort of how the personnel will fit and mix and match once we get an idea of what his defense will look like now, 4 years after his last stint running a defense.
Yeah, no, we'll see. And in the end, even in the press conference, he can't answer that question. He won't know, because he won't know until he's put in those situations, until he sees what players he has to be able to play certain skill sets and certain things. So we won't find out what he is for a couple of years, actually, because he really has to develop into his own person. And then he's in a different division now too. And so all these kind of things kind of determine what direction you're kind of going into. So he might go back to being more of a blitz guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it all depends. I know this: if he's playing his former team, he better do that. He better not do what Fangio was doing. You know
Lamar,
what I'm saying? Yeah, with Lamar, you got to attack his ass, because I was going crazy when they weren't attacking him, and and I knew the Chiefs would attack him, because that's what Boyer and Flo did. To their credit, that's why they won those games, because they attacked Lamar and did not allow him to get comfortable. So I think the situation a lot of times, David, is going to determine what you're really going to play at that moment. You know what I mean? And by the
Yeah.
way, he does have a safety that can play single high safety and can excel at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Holland
Yeah.
is perfect for that. He is built for that kind of play. I'm just he is elite. If you play him as a center fielder like that, oh dude, he's gonna have 7, 8 interceptions. I'm telling you.
Yeah. He's capable of that. I mean, that's sort of why the Flores Boyer combination drafted him. And Greer chose him, and he fit into that Flores Boyer scheme. Starting off when he was taken early in that second round in 2021, because he could do those things and he had that range. So, yeah, and then that's one thing that was interesting with Fangio just giving him 1 year here is that. It was a lot of personnel that still fit the previous scheme, and then you're trying to make it work with a complete 180-degree difference. You have Brandon Jones, who was blitzing all the time in the previous defense. Now you want him to play coverage. Javon Holland is his zone is shrinking as far as allowing his range to flourish. And to your point about the way he attacks his former team, the Ravens, yeah, that was the difference of what the Chiefs did, what the Dolphins did between 56 points, right? That's what the Dolphins gave up, and 10 points that the Ravens scored in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. So the proof is kind of right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it's just one of those things that we've got to, it's kind of a wait and see because he may not even be able to evolve to what he has, what he wants to be, because he may not have all the pieces he needs the first year. It might take him a couple of years, just like Fangio. What I didn't like about Fangio is, you inherited talent from another defense. You weren't flexible enough to use them to play in their strengths also. And then that also shows me as a coach. I know you're a great coach, but you're a great coach with your system. Well, I kind of like the coach also that can play multiple systems and can adjust to his talent. And that's one of the things I used to love. And I hate to do this old man shit. God damn it. I hate it. But Shula, this is what I loved about Shula, dude. When he had Greasy and Zonka and those guys, well, he ran the crap out of the ball. And then when he had Woodstock, well, then he knew he could only run with one guy and pass with another. And then when he had Marino, he knew he had the most gifted passer out there. So let me ride that arm. And he adjusted to what he had on his team. You know what I mean? And to me, that's what I like defensive coordinators that can play zone on one series and then play man on another. You know what I mean? I like being multiple because that keeps people off balance too. And that's one thing that I thought, Fangio could have taken advantage of last year because he had some guys that had those skill sets. Like you just mentioned, Brandon Jones is a dynamo when it comes to playing him as a blitzer, as a run supporter, and he got better in pass coverage and everything, but he excels in those other areas. Dude, what are you doing? Let's go. Get after Josh Allen. Get after Lamar Jackson. Let's go attack a little bit more. And he didn't do what his defense was actually built for before he got here.
Yeah, well, you're mentioning there going man one series, zone the other. Now it's almost like Miami Heat Eric Spoelstra's system on the football field, where you see him throw in that zone defense on the hardwood about as much as any NBA team, and mixing that in and how it affects other opposing offenses. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
But then again, Spo is the best coach in town. He's the best coach in the NBA. He's at another level right now. Right now in this town, nobody's proven like what he's proven. But it's a great example on your part that he's a very multiple coach. And to me, I think that's incredibly important. And I thought Fangio lost out on an opportunity last year to show some flexibility because he had the players actually that could help him out on that end more than his end. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, Fangio kind of struck me always as sort of like a my way or the highway type of coach, and when you've done it so many years, and you'll fall into that mentality, but you have to be able to be flexible with what you have, and there was just so much personnel that was there for the structure of the previous defense, so not as much adjustment on his part. he could have figured to increase the blitz rate a little bit based on how much it was. So it wouldn't be such a drastic difference. I think at least in year one. And then if it would have worked out where they were sticking with that plan for year two, then maybe you get more of the ingredients that you need for his system. And then you just go further and further on that spectrum to shift toward what he wanted to do. But yeah, I think year one, it would have been ideal if he was a little bit more flexible toward what the guys on defense were doing and just make it sort of like a slow roll, slow introduction into his system.
All right, what do you got going on in the Sun Sentinel, my brother, so folks can check you out?
Good. Yeah, I mean, checking out NFL honors tonight, which Tyreek Hill is up for Offensive Player of the Year, and Tua is up for Comeback Player of the Year. Alec Ingold, he's the Dolphins nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year. So, tune in tonight. And I'm going to also see if any of those Canes get into the Hall of Fame. That'll be good. I know they've been on that finalist list since I was covering UM every year, it seems like. So it'd be nice if
Hester and who else?
Andre Johnson, Reggie Wayne, if those guys can get in.
Reggie Wayne will get in probably even before Andre, only because he was on a better team. Andre Johnson is a first ballot Hall of Famer, bro.
Should be, right? Yeah, I mean,
no should be. There's no should be
like that, you know.
There's no should be. That's one of the greatest talents I have ever seen in my life at wide receiver is Andre Johnson. He just played on a shitty team with no quarterback ever.
And he still put up numbers.
He did what Irving Fryer did for many years with the Patriots. Mark Wilson and a bunch of other bums that threw to him, and he would still, get 900, 1,000, 1,100 yards. And then when he came to Marino and for Philadelphia after, he played with better quarterbacks and he put up better numbers. And he put up Pro Bowl type numbers, but Irving Fryer was a stud with crappy quarterbacks. Andre Johnson's even better than Irving Fryer, and to me, Andre Johnson is a superstar talent at wide receiver, bro. Like, if he would have been with Mahomes or Brady or whatever, he would have gone into the Hall of Fame and he would have been recognized like he should. Like one of the greatest receivers to ever play in the NFL. Seriously.
Absolutely. Aside from that, just keep an eye on any other staff changes. We know the Dolphins have Joe Barry as linebackers coach now. Anthony Campanelli's out. And Ryan Crow in as outside linebackers coach, was previously under Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. But Ryan Slowick, who was previously in that role for the Dolphins, he's staying on staff in another role that yet to be determined. So just going to be following up on all the news going on around this, all these defensive coaching staff changes with the Dolphins.
And if you're going to put a punter in or a kicker into the Hall of Fame, the greatest returner of all is Devin Hester. And so exactly. I have zero issues with Devin Hester going into the Hall of Fame. I just have an issue that Andre Johnson is not respected like he deserves because people really didn't look at the talent. They're just looking at the situation and his stats, and his stats don't even tell the real story of that guy, dude.
Yeah. And wide receivers always get this disrespect too, where they don't get in on the first ballot. I mean, it's so few wide receivers that get first ballot Hall of Fame status. Just by the way the votes go. And you're right, Devin Hester, I mean, I know a lot of people have issues with a return specialist getting in, but he was the best at his position and dominant. I mean, those 06 Bears, you couldn't kick or punt to the guy. He changed the whole game where they were kicking off out of bounds, taking the penalty because you didn't want to score and then just have the Bears go and take those points right back with a Devin Hester return touchdown. At Super Bowl, kicking it off like that with a touchdown at home at Hard Rock Stadium, it's electric moments from Devin Hester. So I hope.
Well, here you go, my brother, Sean. Give him the news.
The Chicago Sun-Times and NBC Sports Chicago are reporting sources: Devin Hester, Steve McMichael, Julius Peppers make the Hall of Fame.
3 guys that played for the Bears. So they have the insight on 3 Bears that are making it into the Hall of Fame. That's interesting.
Yeah. I did come by that report. So hopefully accurate. And then we'll know for sure once the official announcement.
There are going to be a shit ton of Bears fans at Canton next year. That's for sure.
Yeah, right.
Damn, bro, 3, huh? at least 5 get inducted. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, so 3 of them are Bears. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. And they have like some old time inductees too.
Right,
So,
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. All right. Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic day, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
Likewise. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Thank you, sir. Welt and Rheaume, make sure you call our guys. They're in Hollywood. And actually, they're moving to a new office in Hollywood. Can't say where it's at. But call them 954-966-4646. The consultation is free. Jeff Welt is an absolute stud. Many of our listeners here over the last couple of years have used Welt and Rheaume, and you can too, for bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. It's all there for you. 954-966-4646. Call Jeff Welt. The consultation's free. Even if something happened to you a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and you're not sure if you have a case, the consultation's free. Asking does not hurt. Okay? Call them. And you can do most of it all by phone. 954-966-4646.